A major Hollywood production meant to mark Rachel Zegler's big comeback has come to a sudden stop, and it's making waves for all the wrong reasons. What was supposed to be her return to the spotlight has now been completely shut down, with no word on when or if filming will continue. The studio claimed it was just scheduling issues, hoping to keep things quiet, but people close to the set tell a different story. According to multiple insiders, the real reason the movie fell apart wasn't a calendar conflict, it was Rachel.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
She has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it like one step too far.
I like to control the narrative in some regard. To some degree, I have to be able to say what's going on.
Proper photos every time I'm online for the Snow White ride, and I have to pretend like, oh God, well, crazy that we're in front of this.
If I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed.
This is why she's never gonna get another job again in Hollywood.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
I don't know why I sound so angry right now. Am I a psychopath?
From the start of filming, there were signs that something was off. Rachel began arriving late to rehearsals, walking in casually with coffee while the rest of the crew had already been working for hours. At first, some gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she was tired, maybe she needed time to settle into the role. But that leeway quickly wore thin. During table reads, she would glance at her phone, roll her eyes during feedback, and often looked disconnected from the room entirely. One crew member recalled it felt like she believed she was above it all, as if showing up was enough.
I'm a narcissist.
As the days passed, the atmosphere on set grew heavier. Conversations that once filled the room became short and guarded. People avoided eye contact, not out of rudeness, but because no one quite knew how to navigate the growing tension. There was an uneasiness in the air, something unspoken that lingered between takes and during breaks. Where there had once been collaboration and energy, now there was silence, hesitation, and a growing sense that something was unraveling.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Gone viral.
We're about to get
viral.
I hope
so.
not.
I hope so.
Oh God, okay.
We're vibing already.
Okay,
this is
great. Opposites attract, let's go.
Okay. All right.
Rachel skipped rehearsals, shrugged off script meetings, and seemed more interested in controlling the narrative than contributing to the work. The breaking point came during what should have been an ordinary shoot. The director offered Rachel a few simple notes. Small adjustments, nothing out of the ordinary, but something about it hit a nerve. Her tone shifted, her expression hardened, and she accused him of undermining her talent. The room froze. Moments later, she stormed off set, still in full costume, leaving behind a stunned crew and rolling cameras. For a few seconds, people thought it might be part of the scene. Then the silence set in, and they realized it wasn't. That moment changed everything. The mood, already fragile, fractured completely. The director, without saying a word, walked away too. Hours later, the studio pulled the plug. There were no new shooting dates, no press releases, just a quiet pause that spoke volumes. The project that was meant to restore Rachel's image was now stuck in limbo. In the days that followed, things behind the scenes continued to unravel. One supporting actor told producers they wouldn't return unless a mediator was present. The makeup team, once upbeat and talkative, began requesting schedule changes to avoid the trailer area. Crew members stopped communicating directly, opting for assistance or texts just to avoid unnecessary contact. It wasn't just tense, it felt unstable. One production assistant said it no longer felt like a film set, but a situation being managed. Rachel, for her part, reportedly felt misunderstood.
She's an asshole. So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country. I mean, I would say she leans into her role as both victim and heroine.
I never wanted to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
She believed the cast and crew were turning against her, that she was being targeted unfairly. But those on set pointed to a much longer timeline. It wasn't just one argument or one bad day. It was weeks of behavior that had left people feeling ignored and unimportant. Her outburst had only confirmed what many had been whispering. This wasn't a team falling apart. It was a team breaking away. And the story didn't end there. Insiders began to connect the dots, comparing this situation with past controversies Rachel had been involved in. After her harshly criticized Snow White comments, many hoped this new role would offer her a reset. But instead of focusing on the role she was given, sources say she pushed for changes to the script. She wanted more dramatic scenes, more screen time, adjustments that shifted attention to her, even though she wasn't the lead. The creative team grew frustrated, feeling that the film's original vision was being lost in the process.
A lot of what you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else.
The media picked up on it fast. Articles that once hyped her comeback began to question whether she was becoming too difficult to work with. Her name was no longer tied to the project's success. It was becoming a distraction all on its own. Rachel's next move didn't help. Rather than taking a step back, she went live on Instagram. Wearing a hoodie and speaking with visible frustration, she complained that people were ignoring her calls and hinted she'd be sharing more about the situation on a talk show. She followed it with TikTok clips that made light of the drama, including one where she joked about playing two characters, smiling and saying, "Double the trouble." Am I right? The timing couldn't have been worse. Her team had reportedly prepared a formal apology and a public relations plan to help calm things down. But Rachel wasn't interested. She told them she was done pretending to be someone she wasn't.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Fans who once defended her started to back off. One comment stood out: "I want to like her, but she makes it so hard." And now, the studio's legal team has gotten involved. They've started reviewing her posts, set footage, and internal reports to determine whether any contracts were broken. If she violated confidentiality agreements or created a hostile work environment, she could be removed from the project entirely. Behind the scenes, some believe the studio is already preparing to recast her role, quietly reshaping the movie without starting over. The silence from Hollywood has only added to the pressure. Usually when an actor faces backlash, someone steps up to defend them: a co-star, a director, a former mentor. But this time, no one is saying anything, not even a single post of support. When asked about her, past collaborators have changed the subject. One actress even dropped out of another project Rachel was supposed to be part of. Now the question hanging in the air is whether she can come back from this, or if the industry has already moved on. Hollywood loves a redemption story, but even those stories need someone willing to vouch for you. Right now, Rachel's biggest obstacle may not be the scandal, it may be the silence. And sometimes, the loudest message isn't what people say, it's what they don't.